Hello and welcome to SquishiVision, um, where I have just finished watching the series premiere to series 15 of Doctor Who, or season 41 if you prefer. We're not calling it season 2. I think it's season 41, 36 plus 15, yeah. And we are so back. Doctor Who never left. Russell T Davies clearly went on some kind of weird direction that left a lot of us with kind of very skeptical taste in our mouths. But this episode was such a strong start. I don't know if I really have many complaints other than they killed a cat. And I was genuinely like, I mean, that's how much I love cats, that my mouth was like open for a good 2 minutes. Like I was like, um, but I mean, I guess to be fair, um, it's been a while since I've had that reaction, that such an uncontrollable reaction to something that happened in Doctor Who, and even like beyond like just the cat dying, which is still tragic enough. The fact that it's been a while since Doctor Who's done something which the new show the new series does very well. Even the old classic series does very well, where it makes you care about someone who you've known for less than a few minutes. And then, like, Doctor Who has been very good at the save the cat moments. Ironic, given what I've just said, but like Sasha 55, was that her number? It just clocked me that that's why that number sounds familiar, because it's the number that you did for Orphan 55. Is there a thing about 55 in Doctor Who that I'm not aware of? Because I'm aware of a lot of Doctor Who things. But no, like I immediately cared about Sasha 55, be it because of the acting and because of the writing. And then when she died, I was like, I mean, I didn't have the same kind of reaction as I did when the cat died, but I had a reaction. I felt something. Um, I could tell I was meant to feel sad, and I kind of did. By my am I unscrewing or screwing this table? Like, um, by their death. I mean, I could see it coming a mile away. But again, that's something that hasn't really like been. I could see a mile away, but I didn't mind. I felt like, oh, this is what I'm meant to be like. Like, it's executed well. Like, it's not meant to be a twist, but it was still meant to invoke that sense of like emotion that it did. Um, Hello, Edwin Handoyo, who I think is saying here that they're giving 100. I've moved, my whole setup's moved, so the thing is in the way. I should probably move that. Oh, I should probably move so we can actually see the text from the chat. Now we're just spamming characters, so we're gonna ignore them. I thought they were giving the episode 100, but now we're just saying words. But I've just noticed that the image thing next to the name isn't appearing properly. Anyway, I'm just gonna get them to like shut up a second. How do I put user in timeout? Cool. Right, they've been timed out. What was I saying? But yeah, like the best thing about this episode was that it was coherent. Um, Compared to the Legends of Ruby Road, which I still have no clue what was going on in there. This episode, like the premise was strong. I mean, I remember watching it initially and being like, that's not how those star charts, not star charts. It's not how they call them diplomas. I don't know why they call them diplomas. That's not how those star certificates work. You can't buy a star. It's a big scam. Like I know people who have done that in the past as gifts. It's the same thing as buying a square foot of land and calling yourself a laird, which I may have done when I was younger. Not real things. There's no like central registry of stars that you can buy onto. But the episode actually addressed that because it was like, well, no, it's not called after her because it matters, although that's something Doctor Who would very much like expect us to expect, or accept rather. Um, they added some time like weirdness, which I think is the weakest part of the episode, but it says a lot about the episode that even though it was the weakest part of the episode, it didn't actually go too far. Like it came close to me being like, what are they trying to say here? And by just like throwing random time phrases and like techno blabbing about time and hoping that it sticks and we'll just accept it. But actually, no, they did kind of tie it together in a way which made some degree of coherent sense. Some degree of coherent sense. Not sure if it's a strong enough foundation for a arc to be built upon, because they seem to be implying that there's an arc here about time going weird and about time rifts. But we'll see how it falls. I have a feeling if this series is gonna collapse on anything, it's gonna collapse on that arc, because that arc wasn't the strongest part of the episode. And if the episode didn't, but it also kind of had to be part of the episode because, and it worked. It worked for this episode. The idea that things came from Earth and arrived on the planet at different times, if all we have to do is accept that, this episode is fine. Sorry, correction. This episode is great. And the weakest part being that is fine. I'm gonna shift gears and talk about Belinda. Extremely good character, very strongly, very well written. All the things that you kind of want from a companion episode. I know what their values are. I know what they're like in a crisis. I know what they're like when they face unexpected. I know what they're like normally. I know what their personality is like. A lot of things I've been lacking in certain Doctor Who companions were not lacking here. They didn't do the thing where we expose them to this, like, it does bother me when we get a new companion and they are exposed to this fantasial, completely like out of the world experience, and they just take it on a stride. I'm not saying that I need them to like be completely overwhelmed, because I think there is a degree of what makes these companions special is their ability to take this kind of thing in their stride, and that's what separates a companion from a normal human being who is completely like overwhelmed. But I also want that kind of like, we're living these stories through the eyes of these companions. I want to feel that sense of wonder, which is hard to do when you're watching TV and it's fictional and you're grounded in your own reality. And they put enough of those moments in. They put enough of those moments, like the fact that I was going to be really annoyed if the first time Belinda saw the vastness and beauty of space and they were just like, huh. No, but I actually had a moment where they're like, oh my god, I'm in space. And I needed that, and it was in there. But like, the fact that they were in a field hospital and Belinda's first kind of inclination is to be a nurse. I liked that, and it's realistic and it's practical, and it's what it's very Martha coded, but not like a duplicate of Martha. That was, I think, my other concern. A lot of people on Twitter were like, "Oh, it's Martha Jones back," not like literally, but like spiritually, this is a success of Martha Jones, and in some ways that's a good thing, but in other ways, I wanted to make sure this character is distinct and different, and they did that. The calling your main villain the AI generator is something too unoriginal to have been done by AI, but then putting what's the word? Genuflect. What's the word that you used? I think I've used it once in Doctor Who before. I know it's a real word, but having that in your dialogue is too original to be AI, and that's this episode's kind of like in the middle of those two things. But then they actually put a twist on that. It's not AI generator, it's AL generator, whatever that means. But the villain twist actually was fine. Like, it wasn't. Thing is, this episode didn't do what a lot of recent Russell T Davies episodes have tried to do and be too clever for their own good, and then fall on their face. It was a good, simple, decently produced Doctor Who episode. The villain, Russell T Davies in the last series had like this obsession with trying to do these really like progressive, like trying to like depict progressive elements in the episode, and like failing, like trying to like do commentary on disability, and it's being obvious it's being written by someone who's not disabled. strong allyism. I've heard the same critique about the trans kind of depictions. Obviously, I'm not from that community, but I've heard people from that community say that. And I was, I mean, even Moffat was kind of getting in on it with the whole mansplaining thing, joy to the world, when it's not. I mean, mansplaining is very much a real and toxic behavior. It wasn't what was happening in that episode. And it kind of like undermines and like trivializes what mansplaining is when you do it wrong. I was worried they were going to do something with incel culture, kind of trivialize and undermine it. But no, actually, it was fairly. I mean, some of Blinda's dialogue was like very dialogue-y rather than natural, but not in a way which is like beyond the scope of what you expect from Doctor Who quality of writing. Actually, the Alan being what they were was fairly realistic, grounded, and made sense in the context of the episode. It made sense that Blinda would have to like deal with that as a person in her youth and older. Some of her kind of quips about it's just typical person, people bossing me around, was a bit too on the nose when it was already kind of sold to me. But I'm sure there's someone watching the episode who needs that extra kind of like signposting. The set design, the visuals looked good. A lot of the like last series of Doctor Who was like hit and miss with the CGI. The compositing, at least the green screen compositing in this episode was actually fairly good. There were some shots where they were against the green screen and it didn't look like bad. It looked decent. Like it looked decent quality of what you expect from Doctor Who. It didn't take me out of it. It wasn't like harsh lighting or harsh cuts. All of like the supporting cast, all of them acted well. The robots were decent. In fact, I think they were actually again not overcomplicated bad guy designs. Very much kind of person in a suit design, which needed to work for this very kind of simple back to kind of ground Doctor Who episode. The Doctor was great in the episode. I support an emotional Doctor who cries over the fact that someone they've known 6 months has died, because that makes sense and it's consistent. People complaining about this Doctor being too emotional and crying every episode. But look, if you're going to make it a character trait, make it consistent. I would be more annoyed if they made it really inconsistent and the Doctor only cries sometimes and not another time. When for them to be consistently emotional and like it's fine. Like people who are comfortable with their emotions are like that, and people change with time about how comfortable they are. I am very open about crying, and I think crying is actually quite a brave and strong thing to do, because you're wearing your most vulnerable nature on your face in a way which can't really be hidden or disguised so easily. So I'm actually impressed with people who are comfortable crying. People just get over themselves. But like the Doctor was clever, they were on top of things, but they still weren't like that on top of things. And like Blinda also had that agency in the episode, because what they did ultimately brought the finale to a close. They realized things. At the same time, they showed themselves as being capable. Yeah, no, I can't. There's very little I think to fault this. I'm still not sure about Mrs. Flood as a character, but we haven't seen the end of that, so I won't comment too hugely on that. Nothing made me cringe. I was impressed the entire time. I think this is a really strong episode, and I really hope it brings back people who are being disenfranchised with the show, and I hope the rest of the show is like this. The rest of the series is like this, because I think, again, I didn't think Doctor Who was gone. It's a 62-year-old show. It's gonna have entire series that are weak and series which are strong. Fine. And if this is, but obviously people who aren't familiar or aren't comfortable with that as a notion will be less kind of forgiving. So I'm hoping that we get this strong, consistent, not overcomplicated series that helps kind of bring people back, and I think Ncuti Gatwa deserves that. So that's my that's my thoughts on this episode. Also, not hugely loving the 8 o'clock drop on iPlayer. I completely forgot that was what they were doing. In fact, I didn't kind of forget. I remembered seeing the press release a while back. yesterday I was googling to be like, what time is Doctor releasing? As far as I could, and I mean, well, I didn't Google it. I looked at the BBC website because I was trying to go direct to the source, and they were like, it's gonna be on TV at whatever time it's on TV. I think 10 to 6, 10 to 7, and nothing about it being on iPlayer any earlier. So I was like, okay, well maybe they reversed or not. Maybe I was making it up. And then I woke up at like 9 in the morning, looked at my phone and saw a notification that said Doctor Who was online an hour earlier, and I was like, ugh. And it took me hours to get up because I was exhausted. So not fond of that. I mean, it's messing up my like green screen, and like all my clothes are all exposed because I exposed my camera for the more normal streaming time of not bloody 3 o'clock and whatever time it is. Anyway, I gotta go make pasta. So I'm gonna go do that. But thanks for tuning in. Where's my button?